How you doing, Mr. Tsarion?
Hi, Will. How's it going?
I really enjoyed your entire speech and everything, and you talking on our show today. You were talking earlier about basically a collective consciousness, and you were talking about how children actually are kind of like controlled by the parent as they're growing up and everything. I've been looking at a lot of things, and I've been seeing how basically humans in general are both they're both individuals as well as they're collective. And I was wondering, if you were to be raising a child, how would you go about, trying to raise them in a collective sense, but still help them to retain their own individuality?
Well, I'll be going into that in future DVDs because it's a very lengthy process. It's also very important. Remember we were talking about the walls of the ego, the defenses that are there?
Yeah.
We were talking about those defenses being as a result of trauma. They're also partly there because of this conditioning from the world, from the parents. When a child is born, it almost has no walls.
Right.
The pure, unadulterated child, even this is subject to specific cases, but in general I would say that the child's mind doesn't have these strong defensive walls until it meets the parent.
Right.
It's the parent and the siblings and the whole family dynamic that start creating these defenses and armorings, not only biologically in the child's body, but certainly in the mind of the child. Now, a parent knowing this, it goes without saying that they should be into psychology. They should study as much as they can about children, maybe dabble, get into some of the Steiner material, get into some of the Krishnamurti material, because they specialized in the right way to bring up children. So the Scottish caller earlier who was asking about Krishnamurti is appropriate now because Krishnamurti specialized, basically his personal philosophy is you're talking to the dead when you're talking to anybody over 30. And therefore he tried to spend his life, he had a lot of problems in his life getting away from other things he was involved in order to focus his energy entirely on children's schools because he gave up hope on everybody else. But his work and Rudolf Steiner schools, these are at least a very good place to begin. There's lots of other things I'll be recommending, as I say later on when I do these programs on it. The other thing, of course, is that parenting is all about watching yourself. It's not about watching the child. The child is quite, capable of handling its own life.
Right.
And doing what it needs to do. So the parenting first step is to realize that you're not perfect. All parents believe that they're having this child as some sort of toy or crutch, and they're in a supreme authority. I know this is not conscious, but it is unconscious. Parents, when they have a child, have become, for whatever time it's going to take, the big dictator. And therefore they slowly, without even knowing it, start to operate towards the child in this power dynamic. So it's being observing of that just because you think that you're all powerful, because in your littleness of your daily life or your own failures through your own life, now you think you're having a child that will give you some sense of power. This is the first thing that the parent needs to address. And handle that and not be so dictatorial, observe their own need for power, need for control, and so on. Next step they can do is that they must accept that they're fallible, that they're not perfect. Too many parents want to be perfect so badly that becomes another problem. So it's very important for the parent to say, I don't know all the rules. I'm learning as I go. And those are, I would say, just a few basic preliminaries. But when you get more into the heart of your question, one thing I can certainly say is that unless you convey to your child a complete emotional repertoire, you are going to be in serious problems. Because if you, for instance, are not in touch with your own hurt, in touch with your own anger, in touch with your own emotion, the joy, you can dance around the room and feel good about something, your humor, your sadness, your moods, your tears, then unfortunately, your child who's watching you is going to learn, just like what you are, the only emotion that you ever show, which in America is, everything's fine, everything's cushy, hey, it's all good, it's all good, it's all good, mommy isn't crying, there's no pain, there's no suffering, I didn't have a bad day at work, it's marvelous, the sun is shining, it's great, TV. The child does not know what it is to weep. The child does not know what it is to mourn. The child does not know what it means to burn with anger. The child does not know what it means to have hatred. The child does not know what it means to have passion. The child is dead.
Yes. I see
Because
this.
the parent is dead. The parent has no emotional repertoire.
Yeah, I see this a lot in my generation. I'm 22, and I see it a lot where teenagers and people around my age, they either shifting into one full spectrum of emotion, or they're just totally emotionless altogether. They don't know how to go about living with happiness or joy or with anger or anything. They're just mellow, or they just don't care, or they're always in rage or whatnot. And also talking about, children being looked at as like toys and as just being, I guess you can say like a pet or whatnot. I see that also in my generation and generation before and before mine and after mine. Kids are having kids basically, and it's just, oh well, I want a kid because it just seems so awesome to have a kid, or it'd be nice to be a parent right now, and they themselves aren't really grown up, or they themselves aren't really prepared for that, and they don't know what to do. They're not pushing towards anything but, oh, well, I see this thing as just being mine, not its own individual or its own entity.
The individuality threatens the hell out of the parent. It causes them a deep subconscious dread that then leads to that envy. And you're right about the young giving birth to the young. It's biology has replaced psychology. They hate themselves. They hate their own emotions. They can't live with themselves. So now you take the easiest way out. Biology will take over. I have to have a kid. I'm a woman, aren't I? I must have a kid. I'm a man at this age. What am I going to feel like with my mates if I don't follow this function? I don't know who the hell I am. Oh, but that can take a back seat. I'm capable of raising a child. All you got to do is tell it what to do. Oh, that's easy.
Yes.
Straight jacket ready.
And we're surprised that we have such people that can't deal with emotion, that they want to take a pill.
Don't punishment is incarceration. When
Right.
you send somebody to a room, you're no different than the judge who says, okay, you stole something, off you go to jail.
Yeah.
The parent does it every day. Or denying a child a gift, or denying its food. So some parents even deny the food, the comfort. You're locked in, you can't eat, you're going to be denied a privilege that we promised you. All the mind games that parents play, those have to be observed. They have to be deconstructed. And unfortunately, we're not going to see that in today's world. That's why the children of this generation and many of the ones from before are like this. You can't listen to that kind of music. Why not listen to that kind of music? See, I grew up listening to a lot of heavy metal, right? That is a very, very important genre of music because, number one, it not only deals with rage, it has themes of violence, it has themes of anger, it has themes of rage, but it articulates it. So one of the last points I'll say on this is language. The child must be exposed to the language that allows it to express itself. Of course, that'll be lacking in some goon parent who doesn't read and just sits in the front of the TV all day.
Yeah.
If you don't give the child the language to express its hurt, that is one of the noted psychological, and it's one of the latest theories, by the way. This has now become a whole school of theory, and I agree with it. And they say this is what defines a psychopath from a normal criminal. They've even noticed this, that the psychopath is the one who never had in his background the language to express the way he was, where the average criminal in the few cells down is not so much sociopathic or psychopathic because he tended to be able to express himself. And then when psychologists have gone in to treat very seriously criminal people or deranged people, they find that the highest success rates are with those who have picked up books in the prison, learned how to speak properly, articulate their feelings. They have record amounts of recovery, whereas the people who refuse to do this remain exactly the same way they are. And I don't know if you watch a lot of forensic shows, your audience may remember that many of these forensic profilers will always say that the higher that you go up the ladder of criminality, like to the serial killers, the less you get out of them. I don't know if people have noticed this anecdote.
Right.
But the higher you go up to the worst kind of criminals, the more stunned they are, the more they are either playing games or simply will not reveal their motives.
Right.
Wow.
And that ties into this point that I'm talking about, is that they can't. They don't even have the introversion or the means to express themselves. So if a child is not brought up on classic literature, great movies, painting, and lots of talk included in the parental conversations and socialized a lot and has an extended family in which you can banter back and forth, it will inhibit its ability to express its own emotions. And then again add to that the limited repertoire of emotions from a parent, and you have a really, really big problem that's going to manifest not when the kid's just teenage, but as early as 3, 4, 5, 6.